Ever try to catch a falling knife, Mr. Reese?
Sounds like a good way to get cut.
The episode begins with Reese getting a fresh suit just to be sent to Wall Street. The recent number is Adam Saunders, a prop trader in a stock exchange market, a highly educated worker who is keen enough to convince anyone. However, he doesn't invest the client's money, but rather his handlers, Baylor and Zim. He has a new client that is willing to spend a fortune. John Rooney is portrayed as a front person for Finch, a silent-type investor. To check his integrity, Adam had made a prediction to withdraw from a certain pharmaceutical company, the one we saw taken down by Reese and Zoe. The stocks fall down significantly, and everyone is impressed by his take. Reese tries to clone his phone, but it fails. Seems like someone is already keeping an eye on Adam. When Reese confronts him about his bet on Keller's company, he gets to know that Adam does some scary digging. Finch breaks into his apartment but finds nothing other than stacks of cash in his closet.
For a banker, he doesn't seem to trust banks.
In a bar, a fight breaks out between Adam and his colleagues. Returning, Reese finds out that Adam is a bit too close to his boss. There is not much data on Adam, only his boss hired him under a private contract. Carter gets a suit, but the slip has an address. She takes a taxi, but it's Finch. They are always ahead. Finch asks Carter to dig up Adam. Adam travels to Queens to meet his uncle. It seems like he has been helping his uncle out financially, yet somehow all the money is going to Tritac, a place where all the fixed incomes end up. Reese goes to finalize the deposit and Adam goes to Paul, seemingly worried about Tritac. Reese reveals all he knows about Adam to him, and he gets mad. While driving him back, someone tries to kill Adam but fails. It turns out that Tritac is connected with the Baylor Zim company, and Finch goes to Adam's uncle to learn more about the company. Turns out that his uncle doesn't trust the company yet more than enough. Going into the background of Adam, he has his father sends him $200, and instead of spending, Adam collects those in shoeboxes, just like before, and use that to build himself a future. On the other end, the investigator is forcing Adam to give up details about the Tritac company, and Adam complies, going to get his computer for the data. But as he goes to get it, he gets contacted by Sydney to meet her. Sydney was not on the roof, and it was an assassination attempt, but Reese intervenes. Turns out that Adam was hardworking yet innocent. He wanted to take down Tritac, but because of his uncle, he had no other option. To keep his mouth shut, they put him in their own company. Checking up on Sydney, she was killed in her apartment, and Adam's fingerprints were all over the place because of their relationship. Reese takes Adam away and puts him somewhere safe. Adam tells Reese to meet Victor, the one he fought in the bar, a senior broker that has a connection in the matter. At this point, millions have invested in Tritac, and it turns out the shares are about to drop fast. Adam knew about it, and he was being hunted down. Reese gets to Victor, but he doesn't know either. Things stop making sense. Who would plot this against Adam? He gives a hint to Reese, who may know the one behind it, and then calls his uncle, who is upset with him. During that time, someone tracks Adam's location. Finch looks into the database. Turns out that Paul withdrew his shares, and the SEC is after Adam. Meanwhile, hitmen come to take down Adam, but Reese takes them down. Knowing that they want to put Adam down, Finch comes up with an idea to make Adam so highly valued that they can't touch him.
Ever try to catch a falling knife, Mr. Reese?
Sounds like a good way to get cut.
Tritac shares skyrocketed, and the people behind its downfall are worried. They reach out to the investor, but Finch refers them to his new banker, Adam. Turns out that Adam now owns all of the shares of Tritac. Meanwhile, the SEC gets arrested. Adam goes back to his uncle and apologizes. Deciding that his money needs a better place, he invests in the homeless shelter that Reese safeguarded him in.
I never said thank you for looking after me when I needed it.
Who's looking after you these days?
Someone new.
But the twist had just begun. The SEC was not in the investigation chamber, and he had been found dead. Carter reviews the footage, and it turns out that it's the fake officer. Carter gets the phone and finds out there has been $300 million that now belongs to someone new, someone who can be called by that phone, and that someone is.
Hello, John. It's been a long time.
Don, Elias' father, has been released through an unknown source, and his number is up. Carter and John keep an eye out for him while Finch gets another number on top of it, but Don doesn't want their protection. Finch heads to the location, a hospital, while Reese and Carter follow Don. Finch poses as the doctor, and to see the new number, he tricks the nurse into doing so. However, Finch is shocked because the new number, Leela Smith, is a baby. The nurse applied for her social security number. Some people come in asking for Leila. Finch reaches out to Reese, but to no help, he is on his own. Don gets hit by a car, and his bodyguards are killed. Carter and Reese rescue Don and flee to a place where Szymanski will be taking care of him. They want Don to help them get Elias before Elias gets him. Seems like the chemistry between Reese and Carter is getting better. Finch has kidnapped Leela and doesn't know what to do. Reese is shocked to know that the new number is literally a baby. There were not much record on the parents and no reason why she was being targeted. However, the billing records did give some insights into what could be going on. However, Finch is now on the wanted list for kidnapping a baby. Finch reaches out to Carter.
Missing. It was stolen by some weird looking.
Finch wants Carter to dig up more on Leela because the hospital is keeping things from them.
Congratulations. Is it your first?
Simmons comes to Fusco and wants him to find out where Carter has hidden Dawn while Carter looks into the hospital, but they are not giving out any information. Carter gives her a card in case anything comes up. Iris responds and they find out who could possibly be the father.
Dada or Dada?
You serious, Mr. Reese?
Reese begins shadowing the family to know more about them. Seems like Adnan Petrosian's son was the father, taking care of the baby. The nurse calls Carter and finds out that the baby had a bracelet with CC written on it. They find who the mother of the child could be, Claudia Cruz. However, she turns out to be dead because of an apartment fire that was ruled out as an accident. Reese poses as an asset to the Department of Family Services and visits Claudia's family. He tries to get to know more about Claudia and whether they knew about the pregnancy or not. They were unaware, but a month before her death, she gave a document to her parents which included Petrosian's son, Bradley. Reese shadows him and soon finds out that he swings the other way, so could not have been Claudia's father. Finch loses the sight of Leela. Carter goes to the apartment with an expert from the fire department and discovers that Claudia was murdered and made it seem like an accident. Leela is found next to the arsenal and Finch is going to take her to the grandparents. While there, the attackers are already present and Reese fails to bring them down. Returning, Finch is knocked unconscious and Leela has been taken away. Reese knows who could have taken them and the results from the murder weapon came back. Though Reese attacks the Petrosian family, it turns out that it was not the husband, but the wife that killed Claudia, and the job can't be called off. Reese goes to some people who may know and forces out answers, but to no avail. With no leads at all, they have nothing but one option, Elias. Meeting up with Elias, he is curious about why Reese would need to meet. Reese explains the situation and Elias agrees to help. The smugglers gather at time of the morning and Reese takes them down. Reese rescues Leela, but the problems don't end there. Elias has a change of heart. He puts Reese and Leela in a refrigerated truck, cuffing Reese and asking where Dawn is. Reese doesn't tell and they lock them away. At the end, Simmons asks Fusco for Dawn's location, but he doesn't snitch out on Carter. Reese has no other option but to give out the location of Dawn to Elias and gets to escape. Finch arrives and he gives Leela to Finch, rushing to save Moretti. However, it's too late, and Carter wants out of this. Finch and Reese say their goodbyes to Leela and Elias finally gets to meet his father. The episode begins with a new number, Jordan Hester. However, Hester has close to no digital footprint, not even on social media or a driver's license. However, taking out the credit details, everything was in two banks, 2 addresses, and likely leading a double life. Reese tries to reach out to Carter, but as she said, she wants out. Reese and Finch head to each of the addresses and break in. Hester got an employee discount at the corner store in Brooklyn, but how in both of the apartment looks polar opposites, while Hester seems to work a job and afford both. On that note, Reese finds him working as a barback. While Finch is looking into the files, someone comes into the apartment and he is forced to hide. Turns out the lady that just entered is also Hester, so both were looking at 2 different Jordan Hesters. Here enters Fusco. Reese needs data on Jordan Hester and Fusco is confused between their work and being undercover at the HR. However,
Which one? Exactly.
the only thing now Finch got is that there is an apartment rented under the name of Hester. Carter is called in by another higher-up who doubts the validity of her testimony of man in the suit. Reese sneaks and breaks into the apartment. Turns out it is a meth lab. Someone attacks Reese but gets knocked out. Reese installs cameras, however the emails still don't clear out which Hester is in danger. Both of the Hesters are working their jobs normally, but Lady Hester starts to get tailed and Guy Hester meets up with the ones in the meth lab. Finch rescues Lady Hester and Dude Hester is the drug dealer. Fusco's details about either Hester is not sufficient and Finch takes Lady Hester to a restaurant to know more. She says that she'd have contacted her bank and police, concerned about mysterious things happening under her name. Fusco meets up with the officer who worked on the Dude Hester case while he was being charged with violations for making drugs. However, charges were dropped as he was in the clear, and it was reported that someone may have been working under the name of Jordan Hester. Because of this, once more, it is hard to tell which one is the real Jordan Hester. Reese breaks into Dude Hester's truck, but isn't even password protected and has how-to videos in it. Lady Hester tells Finch about her work, saying that she buys things for other people since she can't for herself. Soon enough, she convinces Finch to watch over her to pack her bags for her safety, to which he agrees. Dude Hester is in the meth lab, but he seems a bit shaken by the terms they use. Fusco goes to one of the inmates who had faced identity theft before and is in prison for wrong charges, but no one believes him. Fusco asks what happened, and in return, he may get him out. Meth goes bad, and Dude Hester tells the cooks to leave everything as cops are coming. Meanwhile, Finch goes to Lady Hester's apartment, but instead of packing, she shares a drink with him. Back in the prison, Fusco was going over the evidence when the inmate immediately recognized one of the Hesters. In a turn of events, Lady Hester happens to be Mary and he recognizes her. On the other end, Hester is now caught by the cooks because he messes up the terms. Finch finds out that he had been drugged by Mary. Reese rescues Hester. He tells Reese his plan and they both act upon it. Reese contacts Finch, but he has been drugged and accidentally reveals the location of Reese and Hester. Fusco is on his way to rescue Finch. Carter is taken to an underground place where research is being conducted on CIA agents. Reese is believed to be working for the highest bidders, while Snow is believed to be someone who sweeps all the dirt of the CIA under the rug. And the team wants to expose the CIA for their actions. Fusco rescues Finch and Mary comes into the apartment, demanding for Hester and Reese to be discarded. Reese, as usual, takes them down and with the help of Fusco, tracks down where Mary is. Turns out, she isn't Mary either, but her real name is Tara. Tara gets arrested and Hester thanks Reese. Harold is still high and is ready to spill anything, but Reese respects the privacy. However, Finch says something really strange.
Good night, Nathan.
The episode begins with Carter dropping off her kid when she gets a tip that Elias's bank had dropped from $4 million to zero in just a matter of minutes, and Carter rushes. The machine gave out new numbers. However, this time there are 5 numbers. All 5 members are heads of families, including Moretti Jr., who is Don's son and Elias's half-brother. And because of that, we know the threat is Elias. Carter checks the money report and it leads to nowhere. Elias brings food to his father, wanting him alive so they won't miss the show of Elias taking control of the entire mafia ring. Simmons tells Fusco that he needs to find and take care of the man in a suit. Fusco questions this directive and turns out that HR has been working under Elias for that time. Reese reaches out to Caparelli to give him protection, but he declines. Moments later, his vehicle explodes. Elias is already ahead. Reese calls Elias, telling him to stop, but to no avail. Finch tells Reese that because of Carter's interest in Elias' case, she is currently in danger. Carter goes to give protection to another head of the family, but the police vehicle disappears and they get attacked. Reese comes to the rescue, but another mob head is dead. Reese, Finch, and Carter meet up at a restaurant and patch things up, and Reese gives something to her to prepare. Carter brings Fusco with her because she trusts Fusco for the time being. Reese follows one of Elias's men and finds out that they are shadowing HR's families as well. Carter goes to the heads and tries to talk them into protection, but they won't agree. Worrying for the civilians and having no other choice, she takes them by force but gets chased. Finch helps her get to a safe apartment. While shadowing the trackers, Reese finds out that they are going after Carter's son, but is already too late. Elias calls Carter, telling her to hand over the heads for her son, but with a shaken heart. She denies his offer and Reese promises Carter that he will bring her son back. The mob bosses tell Carter the reality of Fusco, and Elias shows up at the door while Finch goes to Officer Simmons. Finch works his way through Simmons, telling the reality of Elias and fearful for the safety of his family. Simmons agrees upon Finch's terms to rescue Carter's son and cut ties with Elias. On the other end, Elias is trying to break into the safe house after many tries at negotiating. Finch and Reese arrive at Carter's son's location and Reese goes to rescue him. Elias gives one last chance to Carter, but no deal. Reese rescues Taylor, but also rescues Don to make a heavy blow on Elias. While one of the mob heads betrays Carter, Fusco aims at him and he reveals Fusco's dark past. Fusco proves him wrong but shooting him. Elias breaks in but backup arrives. Because of this, Elias has finally been arrested. Taylor and Carter reunite. Elias is being detained. Don and his son also reunite and get into a car. They get a call and it's a burner phone inside the car. They pick up the call and it's Elias wanting to say his goodbyes. Flashback happens back to 1982. Elias is in the care of his caretaker while working at a salon. He is mad because other kids called him a bastard child as he never knew his father. Another flashback takes to 1991. Elias is working at a restaurant that is under Don's name. Don recognizes Elias and takes an interest in him, telling him ways to improve and to keep his head up. However, he ditches Elias as he is sent with 2 of Don's men to be gotten rid of. This doesn't turn out in their favor as Elias is way ahead of them, taking both of Don's men down. marking a new beginning. And there you have it, another set of episodes that would keep you wondering for more. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and press the bell icon for future videos.